In this video, I'm going to share how you can determine the best van floor plan for you. Not for everybody else, not for people on Instagram, but for you. Because everyone has different uses and needs for their van. And I'll share what we've learned from consulting with clients over the past 3 years. So if you're doing a van conversion yourself or you're choosing a floor plan from a professional builder, this video is definitely for you. And at the end of this video, I'll share which floor plan is by far the most popular with our clients. So let's get into it. So the first consideration in the layout or floor plan of the van is what size of the van do you have or are you considering? You have the short wheelbase versions like the Sprinter 144, or you have the longer wheelbase versions like a Sprinter 170 and even the 170 extended. And with the Ford Transits and Ram ProMasters, there are also short and longer wheelbase versions. So with our clients, the shorter wheelbase vans are definitely the most popular. And the reason for that is most of our clients are not living in their vans. We have had a couple of clients who live full-time in their vans, but for the most part, they are traveling weekends and extended road trips and then returning home. And a lot of our clients are women. And the 144 is just a lot easier to drive. It's easier to park. I have a Ford F-150 short bed, and I think the van is actually easier to drive, easier to park than my truck. So the 144 is a nice length, or the short wheelbase version of the other vans, Ford or Ram. But if you're living in a van or you want a few more creature comforts, like maybe a wet bath or a shower, then you might want to consider a longer wheelbase version. Also, if you're going to be transporting more than 2 people, then a longer wheelbase version will give you just a lot more room in the van. So the difference in the shorter wheelbase versus the longer wheelbase is in the Sprinters, you have about an extra 40 inches of living area that you have to work with, which is a lot. In the Sprinter 144, you've got about 126 inches behind the cab for living space. And in a Sprinter 170, you've got about 165 inches. So quite a difference. So once you've determined what size of the van you're going to have to work with, the next thing I think is determining your bed. So the first consideration is how many people are you going to sleep? Most of our vans, we're sleeping 2 people. And so we like to have a queen size bed, which a queen is 60 inches wide by 80 inches long. Now in a Sprinter, without any pop outs in the rear windows, you have about 68 inches. So anyone that's more than about 5 feet 8 inches tall cannot sleep very comfortably sideways or east to west in the van. But with pop outs, you can get some additional space east to west. We like to use the Van Speed capsules. We think they're the best looking and really tie in with the lines of the van and really accentuate the look of the van. So we really like those. With those pop outs by Van Speed, they call them capsules. You can get 78 inches across. So almost a full queen size bed. Pretty much anybody living in a van can sleep sideways if you install the capsule. So by sleeping sideways, you really gain some space in the living area. So in a Sprinter 144, for example, if you have 126 inches total of living space, and then you subtract out the bed, which is 60 inches, that leaves you 66 inches. So 5 feet 6 inches. We like to set the galley back just a little bit from the driver's seat if we're doing it on that side so that you can rotate the swivel seats. And so we like to leave about 6 inches. So that means we have 60 inches for the galley and 60 inches for the bed. Now, if you want to sleep north to south, or you don't want to spend the money to add pop outs to the rear windows, and you're going to sleep lengthwise, then if you take that same 78-inch long bed, then you're only going to have about 48 inches left for the living space for your kitchen galley, benches, seats, whatever else you want to have in that front space. So you really pick up a lot. You pick up a 1.5 feet by sleeping sideways. Now that's not as big a deal in a longer wheelbase van, but in a 144 or short wheelbase van, it makes a big difference. Now, after you determine how large you want your bed, you need to decide if you want a fixed bed or a convertible bed. Now, the first van that we built for ourselves was a convertible bed. It was a dinette, a U-shaped dinette that converted into a bed. And this layout really has some benefits. We absolutely loved having the ability to sit in the back and work, watch TV, just hang out in the back part of the van and be able to sit up comfortably, put our legs up, relax. It was very comfortable, really nice space. So if you're going to be staying in a spot for several days, or you think you're going to be working in your van, then you might want to consider a convertible bed with a dinette layout. Also, if you want to, if you're staying at campgrounds and you have friends or people that you meet that you want to come over into your van and just hang out and play games or talk, then you can seat, 6 or 7 people around the dinette, even in a 144. Now, I would say the biggest drawback to the dinette is just having to make up your bed every day. I wanted to jump in really quick and share something with you that Lisa and I are passionate about. We love cooking and creating in the kitchen, whether we're at home or cooking in a tiny van kitchen. And one of our favorite hacks is using Thrive freeze-dried foods. Why freeze-dried? Because it's lightweight, requires no refrigerator, and lasts for up to 25 years.
With fruits, veggies, meats, and dairy products, Thrive's got you covered. Whether you want healthy ingredients for quick and easy meals, shelf-stable meals for when you are on the road, or you want to be more prepared in case of emergencies, Thrive could be your answer. Check out the link below for more info.
And now, back to the video. We rented our first van out a few times before we sold it. And the people that brought it back told us, you know what, we set the bed up once and we just left it set up the whole time. We didn't want to hassle with taking it down and putting it up every day. It doesn't take a long time, maybe 5 minutes. You can make it very simple to convert. So basically you just take the table, drop that down, move the cushions down. But I would say the biggest hassle is having to put on the sheets. If you're using fitted sheets, putting those around all of them, making up the bed that way, that would be the biggest hassle, and then storing all the sheets and everything. But it's still probably 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes in the evening. So if you really want a place to hang out really comfortably, especially if you're gonna watch movies or TV in your van, then I think a dinette is a really good way to go. The other, I would say, biggest con with the dinette is it really limits your storage space. So underneath your benches, most of that space is going to be taken up with your plumbing and electrical systems. Typically, you're going to have to pass some of the electrical and water across the van. And so that's why you usually see the rear is more of a U shape, so that in the back you can pass wires and plumbing pipes across. It is possible to design it so you have all your plumbing on one side and don't have to pass those across. But for the most part, you're going to need to pass things across. And that's why you see those U-shaped dinettes most of the time. So that little space in the back is typically the only area that you have to store things. And it's maybe just a couple of feet wide and as high as your bench. Maybe a 2 by 2 by 2 area is pretty much all the storage you have. There are ways to configure electrical and plumbing to pick up a little bit of room here and there. But again, you really are going to be limited on your storage. So I highly recommend with a dinette setup to get a large box that you can mount on the back of the van, just to carry extra things like camp chairs, firewood, just lots of different things that you might want to carry that you won't have room to store inside of the van. Now, our second van, and I think every van we've done since, has been a fixed bed. And I really think the reason that people like the fixed bed is, number one, the storage. You have a huge amount of storage in the garage area. And then the second reason is that you don't have to make up your bed and take it down every day. So it's really convenient that way. I would say the biggest negative to it is just not having as much room to sit and hang out. So you're probably going to have your swivel seats, which in a fixed bed van, that's typically if we're working in the van, we'll swivel the seats around and sit in those to work, which is really nice, and they're very comfortable. And then we typically will put a bench in the van, where underneath that we'll store the toilet and a little bit of storage space there in the bench. And so, you know, one or two people can sit at that bench. We've also done versions where we have the bench on one side and then shorten up the galley a little bit and have a jump seat over there. So there's different configurations you can do, but you're still going to be limited to just having 3 or 4 people sitting in the van. And then as far as watching TV or movies, which we like to do, really your best option is going to be laying down in the bed and watching it, or swiveling the seats around and watching it back towards the rear of the van. Like I said, the dinette, I feel like if you just want to be hanging out, watching movies, you know, playing games, things like that, dinette setup is really nice for that. I think the biggest next consideration is whether or not to have an indoor shower. For our clients, they typically opt to not have an indoor shower and they'll just have an outdoor shower. We have done a couple of vans with indoor showers. Our first van had an indoor shower, and I'll tell you, we really, really liked having it for the toilet and the privacy. We didn't use the shower very much at all. So in our second van that we built for ourselves, we opted to not do an indoor shower and just did an outdoor shower. And I found that we use the outdoor shower every bit as much, if not more, than we ever use the indoor shower. And there are also a lot of options for showering, especially if you're a weekend or road trip traveler and you're not living in the van full time. You're giving up a lot in a short wheelbase van to have a shower, and it also just makes it very closed in. We like the open feel of a van that doesn't have a shower. And there are a lot of options for showering if you're a part-time traveler. You can shower if you join a health club that's nationwide. You can use their facilities. Also, if you stay in campgrounds, most of those will have showers. And if it's warm out, then the outdoor shower is great. Now, it's not such a great thing in the winter, but like I said, we found that you can find a lot of other options. And our clients who have gone with the outdoor shower and no indoor shower have not regretted it at all. If I personally wanted a shower, I would absolutely go with the Sprinter 170 or longer. But without a shower, for me, I would definitely go with the shorter wheelbase van. Now, there are different kinds of indoor showers that don't take up as much space. We've installed a Tetra shower, which are great. It just folds up into a cabinet, and then you can fold it down and have a shower curtain that pulls up. And so that's a consideration. If you don't want to take up the space, but you want to be able to have an indoor shower, then that might be a good way to go. Now, once you've kind of determined what your needs are, then the next step is to lay out exactly where everything's going to be. So you're going to have some fixed items like your bed, maybe a refrigerator, maybe a sink, things like that. You're not going to be able to change the size of those. And so, for example, we use a lot of times the isotherm CR130 refrigerator. That requires an opening of 21 inches. So whatever that size is, you've got to fit it in there. You're not going to be able to change that. So for example, if you're looking at a galley that's 60 inches long, then you're going to have about 21 inches is going to be taken up by your refrigerator. And then let's just say your sink is 20 inches wide. That's going to only leave you about 19 inches left for your drawers, which is not a bad size. But if you decide you want to shorten up your galley, you may not have room for your drawers, or your drawers may end up being really small. But these are fixed dimensions, and you've got to, it really works best to figure out what the things are that are fixed and then work within that to fit whatever else is that you want and make sure that that space is going to be enough. So for example, we do a version of our layout where we do a jump seat in between the bed and the galley is on the driver's side, and we do a 16-inch jump seat. So we shorten up the bed a little bit, we shorten the galley a little bit, we shift the galley forward a little bit to give us that 16 inches. Now, if you're putting your galley or a bench on the passenger side going into your slider, we like to leave at least 24 inches for the opening of the slider. So from the front B-pillar of the van to where the galley or the bench end, we like to have 24 inches. We feel like if it comes in any more than that, it just encroaches too much into that opening and makes it feel too closed in. So that brings me to another point, and determining which side you're going to put your galley on driver's side or passenger side, where you're going to have seating, things like that. So my number one tip for that is to put your plumbing system on the side where most of your water is going to be. Now, there are some times where you might have your kitchen on one side and your shower on the other, but if all possible, put everything on the same side. We typically will put a galley on the driver's side and then our outdoor shower on the driver's side. So that means we don't have to pass any water across the van. Now, we have done versions where we do a shower on one side and a galley in the slider opening. And in that case, we do have to pass the water across, which means we either have to do it across the back where that U-shaped dinette is, or if it's a fixed bed, we just pass it through underneath the bed. But having everything on the side that it's closest to is really going to help a lot. Also, when you're considering especially your plumbing items, think about which side and what you have underneath. For example, in a Sprinter, there's a really nice space underneath the van on the driver's side, just toward the outside of the van next to the fuel tank, where you can fit anywhere from a 15 to 20 gallon tank will fit really nicely up there. And there's a lot of manufacturers that make tanks that will fit right into that space. And it's really open, so it's easy to put a drain wherever you need to. If you're putting your sink or a shower on that side, then you can just drill right through wherever you want to put your shower, just making sure there's no cross member on the frame in that spot. Make sure it's clear. Then you can drill through and put your drain right down going into your tank. If you do on the passenger side, you're a lot more limited because of the step. And so you're limited to the size of tank, or you're going to have to spend a lot more money on the tank to get one that will fit into that space on the where the slider is. It's not going to be very hard to fit a gray water tank for a sink, but if you want to be able to fit a larger tank for a shower, then typically the driver's side is going to be a lot better for that. Kind of my pro tip on designing the layout for your van is design it for what you're going to be doing 80 to 90% of the time. We've had clients who come and they think, well, you know what? I might want to take one of my grandkids in my van every once in a while. Or I might want to carry bikes inside the van, or things, just depending on your lifestyle. But then we ask them, how often would you be taking your grandchild? Well, I don't know. I don't know if I ever would, but if I did, then, it might be once or twice a year. Well, yeah, it's possible to do an extra seat. You can do a seat that pops in and out, but they're pretty expensive. But you really don't want to give up a lot of things that you really need in the van just for something that might happen on some occasion. Now, I promised that if you stuck around to the end of this video, I would share with you which van layout by far is the most popular with our clients. And that is what we call our Moab layout. And we have a couple of different variations on that layout, but that is a fixed bed with a garage underneath, the galley on the passenger side, and no shower, no indoor shower, only an outdoor shower. Again, our clients are typically people my age, empty nesters who are using the van weekends and road trips to go, see the country or to visit family. So that's a little bit different use than if you're going to be living in the van full time. But I think it's by far our most popular. As we consult with clients, these are the things that they want and need, and that's why we designed this layout based on our travels in a van and what we liked, and then also our customers' feedback. Now, if you're considering van life, you probably got a ton of questions. We've done a video on the 5 biggest mistakes we see DIYers and even some pro builders make. So if you'd like to watch that video, you can tap or click the screen. We've also got a ton of other videos on the channel about van conversion, van life, product reviews for van travel. So please consider subscribing and make sure to smash that like button. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Jeff with Thrive Vans. Thrive on. See ya.